Hello, friends. It's Nikki, and welcome back to my messy bookshelf. So, today I'm here to share my weekly reading wrap up for May 9th. Yes, it is May 9th. It is my son's 19th birthday. Crazy. So I did finish a couple of things and made progress in a couple of others, and I have plans. Um, before I go on, if my voice does sound a little bit different or the audio quality is like super, weird and throwing you off, I apologize. It is because I'm testing out the microphone because my husband is constantly lecturing me about how poor my audio quality is, and I continue to tell him I just want to talk about books. And he continues to lecture me. So I am trying out one of his old microphones because he's got his whole setup upstairs. Um, so moving on. Let's go on to the books. So the first book that I finished was The Gate of the Feral Gods, book 4 in Dungeon Crawler Carl. And yes, I am still loving this series, and I will continue this series. So this one, again, I don't want to say too much because if you haven't read them, I don't want to spoil anything that happened in the previous books. But I'm still loving it. This one would probably be my least favorite of the 4 that I have read, but I still loved it. I loved it, and I actually really loved what happened at the end in this book. But part of what made me not enjoy this one as much as the others is that though I loved the ending, the epilogue, there was an epilogue in this one, and something happened in the epilogue that made me very angry. So here we are. Here we are. And before you ask, yes, I did already pick up book 5. And I will be reading that. I will be reading book 5. Moving on. So, Dungeon Crawler Carl. I can't really say too much about these books except Carl and his ex-girlfriend's showcat, Princess Donut, are still in the dungeon, making their way through, and we have met new friends, and they are going on adventures to, survive. So that is Dungeon Crawler Carl. The next book that I finished this week was Flowers for Algernon by Daniel Keyes. And I have a lot of feelings about this book. This is one of those books, when I finished this book, I closed it, I sat here staring at the cover, and I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything because it was just so impactful and emotional. So this book is I guess it is. It's diary entries, progress report entries, so an epistolary novel. And I think that the book being written in that way for what it deals with is brilliant. This book was brilliant. Brilliant, sad, emotional, thought provoking, and just it made me think of some things that I've had strong opinions about for a long time and sort of question why and if I should have those views. But let me explain. So, this is about a man who undergoes an experimental surgery on his brain to try and increase his intelligence because he has a very low IQ. And this procedure is one that has only been performed on mice before. And Algernon is the mouse that has had success with this procedure. And Charlie, our main character, is the first human to undergo this procedure. And I I really enjoyed Charlie as a character. I really enjoyed how this book was written. But I had so many issues with the way that they talk about intelligence, and I mean that's the whole point. That's the whole point of the book. So we start off, he is barely capable of reading and writing. He can't understand a lot of what's going on around him. And then slowly we see, oh, he is becoming quite intelligent. Until, in fact, let me see if this is a spoiler. Yes, it is in the blurb. So it is not a spoiler. He becomes so intelligent after this procedure that he becomes a genius. And I struggled with that because of how his personality changed. But I loved this book. And seeing what happens after the mouse starts to deteriorate, the mouse has been very successful, and then the mouse deteriorates. And then we're wondering if the same thing is going to happen to Charlie as well. And sort of feeling conflicted, like he was a better person before he had the surgery, but he was incapable of doing many things for himself and on his own. So I struggled with that. I also struggled with the fact that I have always been very anti testing on animals. I have always been very strongly opposed to testing on animals. And reading this book and seeing how this person is the first person to undergo this procedure, I started thinking how we could go about testing things without testing on animals, because Charlie at the beginning of the book was incapable of giving consent for himself. So it really, I'm having a hard time articulating why I feel the way that I do, but it's sort of the same as testing on animals because they can't consent. And he was incapable of consenting, and now I'm just all confused in my mind. So that's a sign of a great book. I have been thinking about this book since I finished it, and I think it is one I will definitely return to, and I highly recommend that you read this. It's very, very moving. So didn't take very long either. It took me about a sitting and a half to get through this book, and yeah, read this book. Read this book. So that was Flowers for Algernon. So those are the two full-length books that I finished this week, and then I also read The Birds from this short story collection from Daphne du Maurier. I always want to say Rebecca. I always want to say Rebecca. I don't know why, but yes, The Birds, which prior to purchasing this collection here, I had no idea that that was written by Daphne du Maurier. And while I was reading it, so it was great. It was a great short story. Many of you probably remember I think it was Alfred Hitchcock version of The Birds, the movie. And very similar. Like, I didn't think that I would be scared or, you know, spooked by some birds because I love birds. But yeah, she manages to do it again, create that sense of just this ominous, tense environment, like something is about to happen, and it deals with birds. But while I was reading it, I had the sense that it was very familiar, and I don't know if it's because I had read it before and just don't remember, or if I'm just remembering things from the movie, which I watched like decades ago. So The Birds, and it was excellent. I will continue to read from this. Moving on. So I accidentally started a new book that I was not planning to start. And that is because, well, I will explain. So I started reading Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaughey. I've seen this all over BookTube lately, and it sounded interesting to me because I am mildly obsessed with deserted islands and Antarctica and survival on deserted islands and things like that. Also, family secrets. And essentially, that's what this is about. A father and his 3 children live on a very, very remote island. I guess the closest thing to them would be the tip of Chile or Antarctica, but they are like over 1,000 miles away from either one of those places. And a woman washes up on shore. And I get the sense that there are some very unpleasant family secrets, but I don't know too much. But how I started reading this accidentally is because I had heard about this book. I picked it up at the bookstore, and then I went to pick up my daughter from school. And I always bring a book with me to the school pickup line because I usually get there 20 minutes before they start letting the kids out. So I forgot to do that. And I was sitting in my car. I didn't want to scroll on my phone. So I picked up this book and then I kept reading. And I think I made it a few chapters in. I mean, the chapters are very short. So I made it about 25 pages in. And now I sort of want to continue, even though this was not on my plans for this week or even this month. But we'll see. I think I want to continue. And, you know, wasn't part of the pile, and I'm sticking pretty close to my pile this month. The next one, of course, I am still working on The Stand. I don't want to keep saying the same things about it. This is going to take me a while because, as I have mentioned before, there are some very difficult and gross things happening in this book for me to deal with. So as I need to, I put it down, I read a few pages, and yes, we're making slow progress. I am now, I think, in book 2 of the book, and I am over 400 pages in. So I think I'm on chapter 43. And I am happy with where we are because some of the survivors of this deadly epidemic have started to unknowingly head towards each other, and I think that a couple of them have just met. So I am enjoying this still, and like I said, I will continue with this, but slowly. So that is it with what I made progress in. And then moving forward, I am undecided whether I will keep up with Wild Dark Shore, but I think I probably will. And then I am sticking with my pile. I haven't pulled anything else off the shelf. My pile from my pile of possibilities. And yeah, it's really nice that what I'm in the mood for is what the biggest event right now in May is. So yeah, I will continue with these and read some more short stories and also continue with my Dungeon Crawler Carl. But that is what I've been up to, and I thank you so much if you made it to the end of this video and listened to me rambling, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.